for my whole life was so amped up to leave Barbados and travel the world. Now I was traveling the world. I was like, all that energy I had, I was like, what do I do with it? Like, it's still there. It's not just gonna go away now. Like, what do I do? And I felt like I was chasing a ball down a hill. And I was striving to get that ball. Moving to Iowa, I had the ball, right? I held the ball in my hand. So here's the ball. I was chasing it and I held it in my hand and I was like, it's just a ball. But I like chasing this. That's all I know is chasing this. I was never actually taught how to enjoy the achievement. And after traveling Europe, I've realized that we never actually define what we want. We never actually sit down and define. When I get here, I am good. Most of life isn't on the mountain. So how do we go about enjoying living in regular life, not always being on the mountain?
Welcome back to our show, Empower Your Life. I'm your host, Cindy Marie. In this episode, we are going to explore that thought-provoking question with our next guest, Marlo Clarke, a public speaker or personal development speaker from Barbados, whose journey includes international rugby and TEDx talks and strategic leadership roles in US and UK. He has inspired many people with his insights from Fortune 500 companies to rural schools, helping people find purpose and fulfillment beyond their goals. That's why he's the right person to talk about this topic. So let's welcome our next guest, Marlo Clarke. Marlo, welcome and thank you for being here.
Hi, thank you very much for having me. I appreciate it.
Thank you. So in every conversation I have with our guests, we have this tradition. It's super important that we know your story, because through that we can connect with you and understand how you get where you are right today. And, you know, growing up in Barbados to public speaker or global speaker. And I also come across that you have interviewed 100 individuals to really kind of dive deeper of understanding with the meaning of fulfillment or living life. So share with us your story, Marlo.
All right, yeah, so I'm from Barbados, born and raised. I first left the island when I was 21. It's the first time I left. No, first time was when I was 18 for rugby. Yeah, so life was good there growing up. I grew up around my grandparents, right next door to me, which was pivotal for me to be able to see the world. And they always told me that the whole world was there for you. So I always knew that as I got older, I would be an explorer. Now, bearing in mind that Barbados is 21 miles long, so it's a very, very small island comparatively. I got pretty lucky when I was younger, whereas I had a classmate who became very famous. Rihanna was in my year at school, and when she left, I remember thinking, wait a minute, well, she was normal like 6 months ago, and now she'd achieved her goal, so I need to go do the same thing. From that point, I had to figure out her skill was singing, had to go find my own skill. That led me to finding rugby, getting on the national team. First time leaving the island was through rugby. After a few years of playing internationally, I realized that it'd be a very short career. So I started to pivot a bit. I ended up going to the US, to Bluegrass, Iowa, where everyone think it was very, very random. Went there for a summer. Loved it, wanted to move there full time and live there and you know, start a life there. So the CEO told me to finish my degree and give him a phone call when I finished my degree, but I knew a phone call wouldn't work. So I finished my degree a year later, I sold all I owned and I bought a plane ticket and I flew to Iowa and walked into his office and said, Frank, you told me to call you when I get my degree. Well, here's my degree, sir, I'd like a job. And he was surprised and a bit confused, but a year later, I was able to move to Iowa, lived there for 7 years, had a wonderful career working in youth development. And through that, I actually started speaking around the Midwest about the program that I was able to create and how we help kids. And I never saw public speaking as a goal, but people liked it. And eventually someone paid me for it. And I was like, people get paid for this? I had no idea. But as speaking about striving and achieving, I felt like at a point I had achieved what I went to Iowa for. I strived for it. I spent 7 years there. So I ended up leaving with no real plan and started traveling. So I went to Europe, and I knew that I'd be a public speaker at this point. It was going well. I enjoyed it. People gained from me. I felt valuable. I felt like I was able to not speak because of who I am, but speak because of who they are after I speak with them. They always gain something, but I knew that there was more to figure out. So I went to Europe, and I ended up traveling for a year. And my goal, I went wherever I had friends, and I would live in their community. And my goal was to interview anyone I could on what living a full life means. So I went from Finland over to Iceland and down to Spain, Portugal, 13 countries in the end. And I would just meet people on the street, buy them a coffee, buy them lunch, go to a sporting event, buy someone a beer, and just speaking with them about the concepts I had and just figuring out what does living a full life mean to them. And through this, I was able to realize for myself that I strive a lot and I achieve a lot, but then I feel stuck. Then I feel like, okay, well, what do I do now? I just got to go strive again. So it's like you strive and you achieve, and then you feel a bit confused. So you just strive again. And it's just like cycle. So yeah, through that experience, I actually met my wife traveling Europe. When we decided to get married a few years later, she said, sweetie, we can get married, but I want to move to Africa.
Oh, okay.
And I was like, okay. So she wanted to study vultures in Africa. So by this point, public speaking was going well. I gave my 2 TEDx talks in England. I was speaking, it was during COVID. So I was speaking online, working on my book. So things I felt like I had achieved. So it was time to assist her in her goal as well. So we moved to South Africa, where I am right now. So right now I am in the province of Limpopo, about 50 miles from Kruger National Park, and my wife is doing her PhD in vulture conservation, and I am being a dutiful husband and continuing to speak here and in the US and in Europe as well.
Beautiful. Thank you for sharing that. It's wonderful when you find that purpose and incorporating your interests. You know, you love what you do, and not recognizing that public speaking will be your career in the end. And here, the beauty when you find that really the love of the career that you can do, serve at the same time being paid, at the same time having that freedom to support your wife pursuing her own career. So thank you for sharing that. And, you know, this next question I have for you has been a constant questions that I've been asking our guests, because I find it very important to talk about, because this is where the world we're living, social media, people get caught up, right? People get caught up with this social media of striving and achieving. And, you know, we can feel like life is a competition now. Okay, she has this or he had this, and we lose sight of who we are, why we're there in the first place, especially if you're in the business era, why are you there in the first place? So I'm curious, Marlo, like, you know, how do you think that we can balance to have that healthy celebration in social media about our achievements and successes while also staying true to ourselves, our core values?
That is a wonderful question, and one that I was prepared for. Because in the careers that we're in, being, you know, speakers or podcasters, it's important to use social media, but have a healthy balance with it, right? It's about having that. Yeah. So to answer your question, how do we find the balance and maintain ourselves? It's difficult because social media at the end of the day is a tool, right? And it's a tool that we can use for free, which is wonderful. But, you know, there's a saying that anything you're using for free, you are the product. And, you know, the product is us, and it's how much we engage with it. It is how much we click, how much time we view the video. And it could feel very much like chasing the algorithm. And I realized when I started posting on LinkedIn, especially, that, you know, you would check a lot and you're chasing the algorithm, right? You're told, you know, you got to post 3 times a week at this time of day. And you got to engage with everything. And it's almost like we aren't posting because we want to share something. We're posting because we want to fight the algorithm, right? And we can lose ourselves when we do that because we start sharing automatically. It's one of those things where I realized this. You could create a wonderful post, right? Wonderful text post and post it with no photo, and it won't perform as well. But if you post it with a selfie, it will get 10 times the engagement. And it's at that point when I realized, what am I actually doing here? Am I showing off my smile, or am I sharing concepts and content that are helpful for people?
Yeah.
So I realized that I had to adjust my relationship with it and use it purely as an advertising tool. It is a form for me of advertisement. It is not about showing myself or curating a personality online. It is a form of advertisement. Same with Facebook. It's very easy to be chasing likes. And I tell this story. When my wife and I first got together, I shared a post because basically it was during COVID. We actually started dating. We met in England, started dating virtually after meeting in person. And during COVID, things were going okay. She actually ended up quitting her job and moving to Barbados during COVID. She quit her job and she was like, we have a chance. I'm going to investigate it. Quit her job, moved to Barbados. I made a post on Facebook about it. And, I have plenty of friends on Facebook and people liked it. And a point came where I was like, wait a minute, I don't have 300 friends. I may know 300 people, but I don't have 300 friends, And 300 people like this picture, and I was like, this reaction I'm having to enjoying people liking it, I don't like this. So I actually ended up at that point going through my friends list, and anyone I hadn't seen in 5 years, I wouldn't see myself seeing 5 years in the future. We met, we had a wonderful experience at that time, but I can't take you with me forever. So I actually unfriended probably 50% of my Facebook friends. It was over 1,000 people I've met, Iowa, England. I unfriended half of them because I'm nothing wrong with them, but we shared an experience and I can't take you with me forever. We shouldn't take everyone we ever met with us forever.
True.
Right? So it's about having a space where you feel comfortable, where you're able to share yourself, share your achievements with people that care about you and you care about them, and much less about impacting the algorithm for the next post or for the next thing, because that's when you lose yourself in this social media world. You engage a lot more, so the algorithm is happy, but you end up losing yourself. It's almost like, people who on vacation, they take a picture and then the filter is wrong, so they retake it again, that wonderful smile, and then here again. So you aren't actually enjoying that moment, because then when you post it, you also feel stressful if not enough people like it quickly enough, right? So it's a lot of things that you got to kind of balance and use these tools for what they are, which are tools.
What I'm hearing, Marlo, is that I think it's very important to know who you are. Because if you don't know who you truly are, you can get really impacted or influenced by the algorithm, by what society is telling you. And it takes a lot of stepping back and assessing, like what you did, is that, hang on a second. Yes, I have 300 friends in Facebook, but in real world, how many those that I still get in touch with? And that takes a lot of courage as well. Many people, I think, won't able to give themselves permission to move forward without bringing the other people in their lives. And that happens to me.
Yeah, and I guess and the thing is, it was more like 1,500 friends I had on Facebook. 300 people liked that one post with my wife and I. And I just realized that something they did gave me an emotional reaction. Right? And we all feel it, and we all feel it, right? And when people like your post, you get an emotional reaction, and then you engage more. And I was like, this is the goal of social media, is to have you engage more and give you that emotional reaction. But it's not one that I realized that I didn't want it or need it. Yeah, I went through, again, if I haven't seen you in 5 years and I won't see you or communicate with you in 5 years more, we shared a wonderful period in time, whether we were co-workers, we met on a mountain in Norway, whatever it was. And we enjoyed that. but we can't take everyone we ever met with us forever. So I made a choice to limit that. Nothing wrong with them. No one did anything wrong. I'm not angry at anybody, but I just need to protect my space as well to maintain being Marlo and not have the algorithm define who the world see Marlo as.
Yeah. Yeah. Can I share with you one funny experience that I had with social media?
Please do.
I got impacted with that when I was in Singapore. I even paid for a fee. And I told this in my first episode because I wanting to have that dopamine kicks every day. I want to get more followers. I want to get more likes. But then in the end, I just realized, why am I doing this? What? Why? And blessed in disguise, Marlo, that it was in Instagram. So that's the biggest kind of followers I had back then. And kind of, I think some people reported that kind of spamming because I was already in the beginning of my interviewing people. So I'm inviting, can we connect, blah, blah, blah. And that actually blocked my account. So in the end, I have to start fresh, and it's really blessed in disguise. And I started to, okay, I have a new piece of account here. What do I want to attract this time? And I think what we are talking about in terms of understanding that not everyone, and we have these terms or tagline that, you meet people for a lifetime, for a season, or for a reason. And that's really beautiful. We can't really have a sense of bitterness that if we don't get connected for a very long time, it means that there's something wrong with one another.
Yeah.
No, it just we have to create that balance, and we might meet again when the time is right, but not this time. And I love to emphasize that when we leave people, it doesn't mean there's something wrong with them or something wrong with us. It's just that at this point, we have to separate ways, but we are all connected. So we are going to meet at some point, at some place.
I actually love that. And I was looking for a pen on my desk. I'm going to get my phone here for a second and write that down because I'm learning from you too. And I heard that quote, reason and a season, a while ago, and I forgot it. So I'm going to write that down now. Meet for a reason and a season. Thank you very much for reminding me of that.
You're welcome. I mean, this is the purpose for us to really get
There you
insights
go.
from another, right? So now let's dive into this striving and achieving, as we have already, tackled a little bit in social media, where we are in this constant chasing of goals and achieving. And hear me this, many people believe that this constant chasing of goals and achievements can really make people whole, complete, happy, and fulfilled. Can be really dangerous because that really, as what you said already earlier, make us stuck in this never-ending cycle of striving. So, Marlo, I'm super, super curious. Like, how, or do you think that we can find deeper meaning in life beyond goals? And this is your expertise, right? Providing information to people, understanding that there's more to life beyond this goal. So could you share with us how we can discover, or where can we begin understanding there's more to life?
First off, I like to speak of myself as a student, not an expert.
Okay.
We are all, once I feel personally, once you become an expert, you may stop looking and start thinking you have the answer. And I don't have many, I have plenty of options and some answers, but mostly options. And here's where it is. When I was in Barbados, I wanted to travel the world. And I left Barbados, I tried traveling the world. And then the day I moved to Iowa full time, and you heard all the risk I took to move there. I was hard, right? It's a podcast. I can't tell you everything, but it was difficult. There was one time where I was playing international rugby, full-time student, and working 60 hours a week in a restaurant. So it was difficult. And I moved to Iowa. And I remember I got there and I sat in the room and I was like, okay, I live here now. And I felt high for like a week. And then a point came where I was like, well, what do I do now? Because my whole body and adrenaline for my whole life was so amped up to leave Barbados and travel the world Now I was traveling the world. I was like, all that energy I had, I was like, what do I do with it? Like, it's still there. It's not just gonna go away now. Like, what do I do? And I felt like I was chasing a ball down a hill, and I was striving to get that ball. And moving to Iowa, I had the ball, right? I held the ball in my hand. So here's the ball. I was chasing it, and I held it in my hand, and I was like, huh, it's just a ball. But I like chasing this. That's all I know is chasing this. So I felt like walking up the hill again, mopey, and just rolling it down the hill again, and just continuing to chase it. Because all I knew was to chase.
Yeah.
I was never actually taught how to enjoy the achievement. And I feel many people go through that. You know, there was one lady when I was giving a talk to a large company, and before every talk, I always interview 2 employees so I can get a feel for the culture of the company.
Yes.
And I interviewed this one lady, very nice lady, and we were talking about achievement. She was like, yeah, I just bought a house. And I was like, wonderful, that's great. And she was like, yeah, but it needs a new deck. And I was like, wait, how long have you wanted to buy a house? She said, for about 3 or 4 years. I said, beautiful. I said, when you put the offer in on that house, how did you feel? You felt hopeful, right? You really wanted to win that bid. And then you won the bid, and you felt happy, like you had achieved for a while. And then you moved into this house that you did everything your entire life to own. And all of a sudden, this thing you always wanted is no longer good enough.
Yeah.
So it was a perfect idea to buy a house. And now you own it, the deck isn't good enough. Whereas before, this is all you wanted. And she was like, wait a minute, I never even had a beer with my husband and like celebrated that we own a house. Because that's how our brains work sometimes, right? You strive and you achieve and you go right back to striving. I want a house. I want a house. Save a deposit, put offers in, get a realtor. I achieved the house. Back to striving again, new deck. And when you build a new deck, I can guarantee you're going to want new cabinets. And it's always this cycle. And how I got out of that personally was to talk to a lot of people and get their ideas. And after traveling Europe, I realized that we never actually define what we want. We never actually sit down and define, when I get here, I am good. I will still strive for more, but here, life is okay. It feels like when we're 4 years old, we're given a pencil.
Yeah.
And we're taught to hold the pencil, and we're striving from that point forward. And then at some point in the future, you retire and then you've made it. But in between there, it's like we never actually defined why we're doing this. So after traveling Europe, I asked myself, Marlo, what are you striving for? And how do you know you are there? So hear me carefully. What am I striving for, first off? And secondly, how do I know I am there? Because if I don't define where there is, I am not striving for anything. I'm just shooting in the dark. You know, Frank had a saying of a pilot who goes on an intercom and says, hey guys, I have an announcement. I don't quite know where we're going, but we're at 30,000 feet and we're up to speed and we're making great time. So we're up there, we're moving quickly, but actually don't know where we're going because we never actually define where is there. And I'm not saying that when you get there, you'll stop striving, but it's a point of, okay, life is okay. I call it, you know, the life is good checklist. So nice. I always find 5 things that if I have these 5 things, life is good. I have achieved and I will enjoy this because the high on the mountain doesn't last forever. You know, we strive and we climb the mountain and we get up on the mountain, but we can't stay on that high. You know, at some point we got to come back down to real life again. And most of life is living down here. Most of life isn't on the mountain. So how do we go about enjoying living in regular life, not always being on the mountain? So first off, we don't define what we want. So the first step is to define what you want, right? I want my wife to feel purposeful, have animals. I want my parents to have a level of health and comfortability. I want to maintain my friendships. I want to have a good 3-month outlook. And I want my money to be okay. And if I have those 5 things, life is good.
Mm-hmm.
I am content. Life is okay. And from there, I will go on. Now, you define what you want, you strive for it, and you achieve it. And then what do you do after you achieve it?
Mm-hmm.
What I've realized is that what actually makes life full, a full life, is when you achieve it, you actually share it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
You find ways to share with other people, whether you're sharing your time with them, you're sharing your talent, the skill you have, or you're sharing your treasure, which is your money. You know,
Yeah.
and I was able to, the first year we lived in Africa, I actually didn't work. The first year we had savings, my wife was studying, I was being a wonderful house husband. I call it a house spouse. And I actually had these concepts on sharing, and I wanted to figure out how to share. So I
Mhm.
went to charities and villages all over South Africa and just offered to share with them, to learn how to share.
Yeah.
Learn how to share, because we actually don't really know. We weren't taught how to share. You know, we could give money, but they may not want money. So you ask them, hey, how can I help you? What do you need? What does this village need? Do you need a well? Do you need gardening? And learning how to share actually completes the cycle of life, because it makes your achievements become everyone's achievement. You can share the gifts you were given, the gifts you were able to strive for and achieve. So to answer your question, to get out of striving and achieving, you define where there is, define what you want, you strive for it, you achieve it, and then you share it. And my work as a speaker is actually broken into those 4 categories. And that applies to individuals, to families, to even companies, helping companies and their employees define what are we actually doing here?
Yeah.
How do we strive for that? How do we achieve it? How do we share it with other employees in the company, whether it's younger employees or people in the community as well? And people who have programs where they actively share, they feel a fuller existence. They feel more connected to life and to those around them. And it actually makes you feel more purposeful with your achievements.
I 100% agree with that. And I think what I want to reiterate from what I heard from what you said, it's really, enjoying the moment when you reach there. And I think what many people is just, that's it. Okay. And then next, what's next? But like what you said, let's enjoy, let's celebrate. Okay, you have a brand new house. Let's sit down and experience the beauty of this house. And that reminded our move here in US when we got our townhouse, and we celebrated over maybe a cup of ice cream. Yay, we got, and I love to share this because in the world that we're living, where it's a constant movement, where when we stop and just reflect and have a pause, we get that feeling of guilty, where in fact we shouldn't. We must have that stepping back and pause, because we need to reflect, okay, where we are, like what you said. Okay, now we're here. So if we are not giving ourselves to just pause, okay, brain, can we pause? And then let's have a talk. Let's assess, take note that, okay, I have achieved this. What am I feeling right now achieving this? It's a constant question, but full of compassion and love. We're not asking ourselves or having like a conversation with partner. What are you feeling? It's not about judgment, but it's about understanding. Are you getting aligned with the person that you want to become every single day? And that's exactly what I'm doing every time I'm having this conversation with you or with other guests. I ask myself, how do I feel? Do I feel, you share your skill, you share your talent, you share your knowledge, and you also learn from the other person. You give
Absolutely.
and take, but in a more compassionate and loving way, not a transactional. I want to highlight that. I think in our lives, really striving and achieving, everything becoming transactional. And this leads me, Marlo, to the next question, which another hot topic, the AI, right? That could really, it's a mixture of different emotions or feedbacks or opinions from different people. People I must admit that I'm very grateful there's an AI because it's a tool that's helping me to be more efficient and effective in achieving things quickly. Where there are other people who are concerned that while we are relying more on technology, this could also lose this personal touch or human connection that makes our experiences more meaningful. So I'm super curious. Do you find any kind of like strategies, that you could help us find the balance again, right? While we embrace, I think we have to understand that it's about embracing. AI won't disappear. It's just going to keep on advancing. But how can we use that as a support achieving our goals at the same time, keeping that important human element in our lives?
Wonderful. I just hit the button again. So before it was talking about social media, button came off. No, it's AI. So I'm gonna go in that frame of mind now of, discussing this AI thing. Here's how I see it. AI is a wonderful tool. It is a fantastic tool. And when people ask me if I'm afraid of AI, I answer them, what is there to be afraid of? That we'll lose our job, we won't be needed anymore. And they're valid concerns.
Yeah.
And I always remind myself that these things are tools, right? With every change and advancement, there's always the intrigue, the hysteria of it, because we're fed the hysteria, right? Like every newspaper needs hysteria, so we click on their article or buy their newspaper. So it's always AI is coming, it's gonna take over everything. But when the internet got invented, they said the same thing. When the computer got invented, they said the same thing. When the car got invented, when the telephone got invented, they thought it would, lead to decay in society. When there was electricity, it was the same thing. So these are all wonderful advancements, right? From electricity, the telephone, the car, internet, the computer. It's a tool. And we decide how tools are used. Now, AI is a wonderfully powerful tool. I love using it. I love putting an idea into it and having almost all of not human knowledge, all of human written text to be able to be summarized to me very easily, right? It's like the way I use AI is a very intense Google search. Because before you could Google it and then you got to click through. I go to ChatGPT or Gemini and it summarizes for me. You can ask for clarification. It's a wonderful tool.
Yes.
And like every other tool, we use it, we adjust to it, and then we go forward. The internet did not destroy civilization. It in many ways gives civilization opportunities for more connection and more knowledge.
Yes.
I was lucky enough to be born in 1988, whereas I was able to grow with technology. And when I was 12, I had a school assignment. And the internet wasn't a thing, like Google wasn't a thing yet. It was like Britannica. You had to like buy the Britannica CDs. And I went to the library and I went to the index section in the library, right? And I was like this dusty book and I was doing a project on coral and I was looking for C and looking for all these. And then a year later, I could use Ask Jeeves or Yahoo to find out. You look very confused. Ask Jeeves was like the first engine I used.
When you mentioned Yahoo, okay, yes.
No, Ask Jeeves, right? But everyone thought that would lead to people would stop using libraries and we would stop gaining knowledge. But we were able to evolve with the tool. And AI is a very powerful tool, but a tool we'll also evolve with and use to our advantage. It's a tool and tools are there to be used, not to be feared. So the hysteria is wonderful for engagement with the newspapers and social media websites, but it's a tool. You figure out how you're comfortable using it. Obviously, there are dangers with it as well. There's the faking your voice, faking your face. There is, students in school no longer actually doing homework because they can have ChatGPT do it. So there are many dangers with it, but there are dangers with every new technology. It is just for us to be patient. We need to be patient with the technology, because we see it and we keep almost putting our impression on what it could be. This could be this, it could be everything. But give the technology time to evolve. Give us time to figure out how it will best serve us, how we can best use this tool and not put it out. It's going to destroy everything and it's all going to erase all we've done. and destroy human connection. Give technology time to evolve like we've given every technology before time to evolve.
Mm. You know, while I'm listening to you, the first thing that came to my mind was the fear of the unknown, because people wanting, well, again, I think it goes back to this striving, achieving concept of our mindset that we constantly want to know. So this question actually relates to what we're talking about, that the stepping into the unknown, right? I think when people hearing that, and I think many people not so comfortable to talk about that even, it can be really scary and intimidating, and especially in our case that you want to be really intentional with our actions and decisions, yet it caused us to freeze a little bit. So I'm super curious, Marlo, that do you have any suggestions or strategies or tips that you might have something to share for people to overcome this fear of unknown and really be more intentional with the actions so we can embrace the uncertainty and, you know, you're helping you to push forward with purpose?
There is this constant pressure to be certain. And I don't know where it came from. I don't know why it's there, but it's there, right? It's always having to have an answer. Like we aren't comfortable saying, I don't know. And especially as a public speaker, there's always this allure that I'm an expert and I'm able to answer any question. But often when I'm on stage, I'm like, wow, that's a wonderful question. And I actually don't know. But let's talk through it. And let's together get to a point where we feel comfortable. And people appreciate that because I'm not selling anyone any image or caricature of who Marlo is. You know, I am Marlo. I am very much like everyone else. And I have this saying that I use. And the saying is, no one knows what they're doing. If you could take a minute and just sit in that for a second and just realize that all of us wake up every morning and we put our right foot in front of our left foot and we do the best we can with the knowledge and experiences we have. But none of us actually know. We just do the best we can. Now, going back to social media, we always get this impression from people that they have it figured out, right? Like, look at that picture. They have the car, the family, they have it figured out. Why don't I have that? Or this person has a car and a house, and why don't I have that? You know, they have it figured out. I can tell you as a verifiable fact, anyone telling you anything with certainty is someone you should not be listening to. They can give you options. They can tell you their experience. They can tell you their knowledge. I always say anyone selling you certainty, they're selling you a product you shouldn't be buying. Anyone who is selling you, and I'm in the self-help realm kind of thing, and so many of them, their books where it's like 5 steps to achieve this. And it said these 5 steps will work. And I want to be a person that tells people no one can tell you 5 steps to achieve anything. No one can tell you 5 laws, 5 rules. No one can tell you any concept that will work for your life. I have lived in Barbados, North America, Europe, and Africa. And there is not one piece of advice I can give to someone in each of those places that will apply to them. I can give you my experience. I can give you a concept that you can apply. I can give you an idea that you can mold to make yours. And that's my work. My work is to give options to people. My work isn't should. It's not you should do this. And if you don't do this and it doesn't work, or if you do this and it doesn't work, it's your fault. If I tell you this law for success, this law is wonderful. And if it doesn't work for you, you didn't work hard enough. This stuff, I tell you, this takes me to a place when I was a young man trying to make it, reading this foolishness. And now that I have a skill, a platform to share with people, I want people to understand that I'm not going to cuss here, but I'm really feeling this. Anyone selling you certainty and telling you a rule or a law or this will work for you or this diet will work or this advice will work, they are selling you, I don't know the word to use, but it's a strong word that I won't say, but it's absolute malarkey. That's the best I could do, right? It is such foolishness. And I want people to understand that no one knows. And it's okay to not know. It's okay to seek guidance from people, to get their experience, to get their knowledge, to get a different option. But all we want in life, we want could. You know, let's do a sentence. You should go for a run today. Or, you know, you could go for a run today. And let me tell you why. And then after I tell you why, you could bounce back to me and we go back and forth. It becomes an option. You know, I'm not going to go for a run, but I could, but maybe tomorrow. But if I say should feels personal. Should feels that you are wrong, I am right, you should be doing this. And I tell people, I hope that we can remove the word should from our vocabulary, because no one can tell you what you should be doing. No one knows what you're dealing with, what you're struggling with, what's happening in your head. But so many people want certainty and so many people sell certainty, but none of us know what we're doing. We wake up every day and put our right foot in front of our left foot and do the best we can, and that is okay. There is no guilt in not knowing. There's no guilt in being uncertain. It's just a process. And hopefully through my work, people are able to learn how to evaluate some things, ways to evaluate options for going forward, ways to view contentment and joy and happiness, ways to share, and then they take it and make it their own. That is my hope that my work would do, and my hope that people who buy books and feel guilty when they don't find success, or they don't lose the weight, or they don't achieve whatever it is, and they feel guilty because the book said it'll work.
Yeah.
That person is lying to you. Any book that says this works for you, they are lying, and I will say that in the strongest terms. And we need to get to a place where we give each other grace and patience, and we give options to people and let them be uncertain without making them feel guilty about not knowing, because none of us know.
I love it. So many juicy information there. I'm kind of like, ooh, break it down, break it down, break it down. You know,
We have only an hour.
I know, right? Just want to, I think, highlight things that I'm hearing from you, the patience, and also giving ourselves grace. And the other thing is that really one formula doesn't fit to everyone. And this is why one of the things that I help people, especially when having a conversation in coaching environment, I listen. And when people starting to say should, how does that should actually makes you feel? Maybe we could say want or could, because again, we're going to options. I love that, because even in my coaching field, I always want people to have options. I'm not forcing you to have a coaching session with me because I don't know you yet. Now, if we have that moment to have a conversation, I might get to know you and I might give you what based on my experience, the same thing. And, you know, I might also be a little bit tough on you with love because I want you to transform. So, but then it's your choice. If you didn't take the options, suggestions I give you, it's up to you. And we are in this journey going through different paths. But again, I think the bottom line of having that uncertainty is go through asking yourself, what do you want? Where do you want to be? Who you want to become? And as you constantly assessing that, you're going to get answer. Okay, this didn't work. I experienced that. I've been using a lot of tools. So, you know, just to experience and identifying what tools that will work for me in terms of helping personal development. And some work, some stick, some doesn't. And that's okay. And I could give that options to people as well. I tried it. It didn't work for me, but it doesn't mean it won't work for you too. But try
it's information.
it.
Yeah,
Exactly.
It's new information. You know, an example on that, a quick one. When I lived in Iowa, I actually worked as a program director. The program was to assist teenagers who were charged with crimes in the juvenile system where I lived. And I realized that many programs, and I studied programs all over, and I was creating a program. I wanted to create a wonderful program. So I studied other programs. But I realized lots of them were, here's a 16-year-old that stole a car, and there's 10 things that they should do to complete our program. And I was like, and I tried that, and I was like, wait a minute. After about 6 months, I was like, wait a minute. I don't know this person. This person doesn't know me. So why would they do anything that I tell them they should do? You know, they listen, they do those 10 things, and then they complete the program and they go. But did they actually transform? So I tore up the program. And when a young person would come, I would say, hi, what do you like to eat? Or you like this fast food chain? Perfect. And I would buy them food. And I would say, look, you don't know who I am. I don't know who you are. I was told you stole a car. I don't know if you stole it or not. Okay. I don't care. But let's do this. Let's have some food and you tell me what you enjoy doing. I want to learn who you are.
Yeah.
And when you get to trust me, then I could give you options where you don't need to potentially steal a car again. And I feel like with young people, we tell them should so much and they stop listening. When you tell someone what they should do, they stop listening right away because they realize this person doesn't actually want what's best for me. This person wants to feel like they know me, but they don't. I had young people who did steal cars, and I'm going to get a bit graphic here. There was a young lady, she did not have access to feminine products. So her time of the month, she would go and pull car doors to get money to go and buy feminine products. Now, are we saying that that is a bad person? Is that young lady who is struggling to get feminine products because they're so poor at home, is she a bad person? Or a young man who, he would go pull car doors and try to steal cars. Yes, it was wrong, but he was hungry and his siblings were hungry and he was trying to find a job. But finding a job in the US when you don't have a social security card or birth certificate or a driver's license is difficult. So I was like, wait a minute. You all are doing these illegal things because you have a need and you have shared that need with me. So now it's my job to go and fundraise money to help with those needs. So we fundraised money and my female assistant would have a stock of feminine products. And any participant who wanted it, you don't got to go steal anymore. Just call Danielle. She'll bring it to your house, put it in your mailbox. You don't even got to see her. It's embarrassing, we know. If you need feminine products, call Danielle. She will come to your house, put it in your mailbox and go. And those are yours. If you are hungry, we will feed you. You want help finding a job, we'll provide those resources for you. That program was more helpful because we didn't tell them what they needed to do. We gained their trust. They told us what they needed. And then we were able to provide that for them after we gained their trust.
I love it. The customized to what they need. And yes, it's very challenging and hard to hear when you are in a place of surviving. You're going to do whatever it takes, even though you know it's not good. But I hear you. I am totally with you. We can't really judge people based on what we see right away. We have to have, again, that space of, let's understand first. Let's have a conversation. What made you do that? Because again, I always ask this, if you're in your calm and peaceful mood, I don't think you're gonna do all of those things. It just triggered you or make you decided to do that. And I feel like this specific conversation that we're having deserves more time to have a conversation, because I'm with you. There are just so many people that deserves to get resources or materials for something that they're lack of, but it's not really their fault. It's just the environment lack of something and many things. And since we have that opportunity, we have that resources, we have that skills, we can provide that to them so they know that they're not alone. There's always going to be resources and solution and help from other people, and we are all in this together. And sometimes what the social media can also bring danger is that feeling the separation. And that leads me to the next question, actually, because I have this one of the main core values that I do practice, and I want to hear yours: optimism. When we're experiencing so many setbacks and challenges in our lives, we tend to question, why me? And it's so difficult or challenging to having that positive outlook when all the time you have these setbacks or negativity in your life. So I'm super curious, in these challenging moments, whether you have experience or the people that you have a conversation with, what are your usual or what are your tips to help people staying optimistic? Or maybe you have your own terminology, being optimism or optimist, but we want to know what makes you having that positive mindset despite the challenging moments that we're experiencing.
Here are some options. The first thing I would suggest is, after this podcast, Google Marlo Clarke, what now, what next? Because in that TEDx talk, what now, what next, I actually go through the options that I use myself and I assist others to use. Whether it's defining where you're actually going, it's about seeing failure not as failure, because failure is a strong word. Failure sounds personal. How do you rebrand failure as just feedback? You tried something, positive feedback, negative feedback. It worked or it didn't. It's just information. And how do you use that information towards the next action? So watch my TEDx talk, What Now, What Next? And that will show you, again, it's an hour-long podcast. It's a 15 minutes TEDx talk. And I have all of my ideas in there on optimism and maintaining that positivity and almost respecting the process. But it's a process we weren't actually taught. And I was able to learn the process through myself, through, Rihanna is one of the famous schoolmates I have, but there are others. My school, for some reason, had something in the water, and we have famous sports people, musicians, and all that. So I was able to watch people and learn this process on how do you maintain optimism when things don't go right, when things feel like it's all caving in on you. And it is purely just understanding the process and knowing that being told no is a very powerful thing to be told no. Because let me tell you why. You actually risked being told no. You cared about something enough to do it even though you didn't know the outcome. And the outcome wasn't what you wanted. But the simple fact that you asked that question showed how much you cared. Now that no has information in it. So now it's to say, hey, I really care about this. I know right now it's not working. Can you give me any feedback on why it didn't work? Because that information they will give you is the fuel you need for the next time you try it. And it's about, and the process I have is a cycle of incremental improvement and navigating uncertainty. And it's a cycle on, taking an action, taking the feedback, respecting the feedback, whether it's good or bad, taking some time to rest, some time to process, and then going again. And in the middle of that is being vulnerable, because it takes vulnerability to try it in the first place. It takes vulnerability to accept the feedback, good or bad. It takes vulnerability to rest it in that moment of not feeling great. It takes vulnerability to think about it openly and honestly. If something doesn't go the way we want it to.
Yeah.
I did before, and sometimes we say, well, it didn't work because of that thing,
No,
something external to us, because the failure makes us feel guilty, but there's no guilt in things not working. It takes vulnerability to say, I did this thing this time, but next time, let me change that. And then it takes vulnerability to even go again after the first no. Being a speaker, I got told no a lot. I was this guy from Barbados. No one knew who I was. I was saying, I got some ideas, and I still get told no now. But that's a healthy part of the process. You can't get told no if you never ask. And every no has information. So how do I handle optimism when there's setbacks involved? I just learn to respect the process. And every no, there's information behind it, and we must go and get that information. Whether it's from the person who told us no, it's from people we trust, it's from the internet. Hey, ask ChatGPT, how do I improve my resume? How do I improve? Again, we have resources, people really want to help, but they can't help you unless you ask them to.
Yeah.
And I'll say that again. People genuinely want to help.
Yep.
But they can't help us unless we ask them to help. So if every setback I get, I have my people, right? And I'm like, hey man, that proposal did not work. And they read it over and say, well, next time try this. Or the person who told me no on the proposal, I'm like, hey, I didn't get the talk. That's completely fine. What are you looking for that I can provide for you for the next opportunity? But it's being vulnerable to accept it's not me, nothing personal. There's nothing wrong with me. My actions that don't work is not a reflection of me as a person. It is a reflection of there were two applicants and they chose applicant B. That doesn't mean that they're good and I'm bad. It's just in that situation, they were looking for different, and that's okay. But there's nothing wrong with me or with you. Dear listener, there is nothing wrong with you, but it's just to go now and get information for the next step you take. So watch What Now, What Next. That'll give you the entire process in 15 short minutes. And want to end that one, we have a thing with when things start going well. we start questioning ourselves. It's like, well, I got the
Mhm.
job. Well, why me? Well, is it imposter syndrome, right? Is
Yeah.
it things are going well now? Well, what? Okay, what's gonna happen? And I have one simple phrase that I use myself because I got a talk one time. It was well paid, and I was like, I'm like, these people are 30 years older than me, and I was like,
Mm.
why'd they pick me? Like, there's, but just tell myself, Marlo Clarke, we don't question good news.
Oh, we
So
don't
imposter
question.
syndrome is real, right? It's like, why me? I can't do this. I can't do this. I don't question. If it's good news, I don't question good news. I got the job. That's wonderful news. I got the talk. I don't know if I can do it or not, but they believe in me. And who am I to question them? If they choose me, why am I questioning their opinion and their thoughts? It's good
Mm.
news. I respect their thoughts. They chose me. That's wonderful. Let's go with it.
I love that. But that happens to me very recently. And I ask myself, really, not in a place whereby, why me? It's like, wow, what happened? Why it's so kind of like very smooth that the person say, yes, of course, I can help you with that. Like, I think more for me is curiosity of understanding what did I do that makes that person to say yes? Because for me, the curiosity of asking that is that so I can share
Yeah.
that practice to people that this is what I did. I don't know what if it's gonna work for you, but you can try. It works
Yeah.
for me so smoothly. I think there's a place to we can put a specific word, curiosity, because when you ask in a place of curiosity, I think that's okay, because I think, again, your intention why you're asking is because you want to give away what you have learned from your practice. And I love it. We don't question good news. Ooh, so many things. And I know that we are running out of time. And I'm sure that many people, I myself, really enjoy this conversation. And I can, double tap or clap what the mayor said about you customizing, every conversation, every help that people would need. And there's no such really perfect formula. So you listen to people what they need and you provide them. And so I'm sure many people super curious to know more about what you do apart from the TEDx, where they can find or how they connect with you.
Yeah, the best way is marloclarke.com. MARLOCLARKE.com. That's the easiest way. It's my website. You can find how to contact me there. You can find my work, some of my talks, some of my concepts. And that's a wonderful way to contact me. You can also find me on LinkedIn. I'm only on Facebook and LinkedIn. And Facebook is just personal, and LinkedIn is all work. So I don't use anything else. I just have personal and LinkedIn for work. So you can find me on LinkedIn as well. It's marlo.clarke is my username or handle on LinkedIn. So you can find me there. And I'm happy to have conversations with anyone, really. When I was trying to learn these things, I couldn't find any help. And I always promised myself that when I got any kind of platform, that I would always engage with people. Whether it's after a talk and someone wants a phone call, or if it's too many people, we do a Zoom call and ask me any questions they have. But I just genuinely want to be useful and helpful. So if there's anything you want to talk about afterwards, find me at marloclarke.com or find me on LinkedIn and message me there. And I'm happy to have a conversation with anyone about almost anything and learn from you as well.
Awesome. And don't worry, for people watching or listening right now, we're going to make sure that all the information will be provided. Also the link, what now, what next? The
What
TEDx.
now, what next? Yes, yes.
Yeah. So, I mean, there are so many information that we covered that I believe, as I speak from the experience as well right now, so many things that I have to process, to digest, to chew, and kind of like I have to take note, replay, rewind. So I'm assuming that many people also having the same experience as I do. And for you guys, if you find this episode super, super valuable and helpful, share it. The more we share it, the more that we can help other people as well to get through, or, to navigate for what they're going through at this moment. And thank you so much for everyone watching or listening right now. Until next time, with yours truly, Cindy Marie, here to empower your life. Thank you so much, Marlo.
You're very welcome. Have a wonderful, wonderful day.
Thank you. Thank you for joining us today, and consider how Marlo's insights can inspire your journey toward a more meaningful life. Remember that life is about more than just striving and achieving. It's about finding that true fulfillment in life. So take a moment to reflect on what truly matters to you and how you can incorporate those values in your daily life. Please share your thoughts with us, and don't forget to hit that subscribe button and share this episode to reach more people and empower lives. Follow our podcast and leave a review to help our show grow as well. Until next time, stay optimistic, keep exploring what keeps you moving forward, and believe in yourself. You've got what it takes to pursue your dreams and make a positive impact. Keep going and be unstoppable.